Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me for the making of Amoeba Stone. All the songs that I'd written for Amoeba Stone were all just prior to, during, or straight after a relationship breakdown of a long-term relationship I was in. And it represented, a lot of change. I knew that it meant splitting possessions and moving home and starting again. And so it was a big thing. And I think shortly after that, my life changed unbelievably, but that's a story for the next album, and that kind of explains why it's taken so long to get new music out since Amoeba Stone. But at the time, I wasn't in a place to record the album myself in the DIY style, and I met a sound engineer and recording engineer when I was on tour. So come back with me to 2013 when we got started on recording those songs in the studio. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're going to enjoy it, and see you soon. We met at the Little Rabbit Barn, which is a venue near Colchester. And David was doing the sound.
I was.
We just stayed in touch.
Yeah, well, you told me about you've been doing some home recording to quite a high standard. And so I said, well, give me a shout because I run a studio. So give me a shout if you need any help or suggestions or just to bounce ideas off. And yeah, we stayed in touch, didn't we, basically?
Yeah. My first two albums I produced myself, and it is a massive task. It's not a case of me just turning up into a studio and singing over a backing track. I write all the songs from scratch. They come from nothing into possibly a song with 10 instruments in. And both albums I've done have taken 9 months out of my life. Complete, it's like having a child. and I came to start recording this album again in exactly the same way as I had done before, where I was locking myself in my own studio and hammering away at the recording and getting nowhere really, because I'm a massive perfectionist and I will just keep going at something until it sends me crazy. And it was just doing my head in, and I was ironing out all the imperfections and being left with this dead, lacking energy performance. It was really frustrating me. So I think I rang David first and I was asking him for advice. I was texting him about ways to mic up mandolins, and
he started with some technical things, didn't it? And then it went on to more creative things like should I double track this? And then it went on to oh my god, I am going insane in my home studio. Please help.
The texts and emails gradually got more aggressive. But I need to just be a performer now, and allow myself to trust other people to help and get the best out of me, so I can just give a good performance rather than have to worry about all the other side of things.
So Abby arrived, and we've spent the first 3 or so hours debating and just listening to a load of different music that we're inspired by, and what sort of artist Abby wants to be, rather than where she has been, more where is she now. And I saw something when I did sound for Abby, that live she's got a lot of, for want of a better word, oomph, got power and passion,
balls,
yes, power and passion, and something that hasn't come across when I've listened to her previous recorded work. So I really wanted to try and make sure we capture that.
This third album is gonna have a very different sound to the previous two, and I want it to do that. I want to always be changing and growing and getting better at identifying where I sit, because I don't fit into folk, I don't fit into pop, I don't fit into rock, and I sort of straddle the three. And I
think for the people that already know you, they'll still recognise you on this.
Absolutely.
But hopefully it'll be a definite development. At the end of the day, Abby's still going to go out there and gig live on her own with an acoustic guitar a lot, but it doesn't mean to say we can't do different stuff when they're recording.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
I can't believe how long ago it was. It was 7 years ago that I released the album, which means it was at least 8 when we recorded it. It's crazy, isn't it? Like, that's the longest I've ever gone without recording an album.
Oh, that's blown my mind, actually.
What were your favourite songs?
Amoeba Stone. For me, it was the essence of what we wanted to achieve. You brought it to me as like a really sweet acoustic sounding thing. And I think it was you that probably said, I want it to sound grittier. I want it to sound grittier. What, like feedback distortion guitar? all right then, yeah, let's do that and have an acoustic.
I wanted that grit and that dirt, but I wasn't sure that I could pull that off myself. And part of the pride, I suppose, behind Amoeba Stone is that I played the electric myself. I was expecting somebody else would do that.
And it was once we'd got the most distorted, horrible, noisy feedback going that we could, we layered it with the guitars that we were playing properly. And it was just, yes, that's it. That's the sound.
The ocean is wide and oh so deep, but the humans all swim by the shore.
I find it hard to pick an actual favourite, and that changes from day to day. But when I think about playing the songs, hearing the songs the way they were recorded, I can't help but come back to Amoeba Stone, because it was the title track, because meaningfully, lyrically, it was what the whole album was about.
Reserved for Amoeba Stone. And if you're a human around these parts, you'll find that you're there on your own.
People have asked a lot about why Amoeba and Stone, why have I picked those two words and what do they mean? Within the song I talked about how I felt like I'd swum away from the shore in the hope of finding land, and I got kind of stuck in the ocean just treading water, and it very much felt like I'd left this solid, stable, structured life and had moved into a very changeable, ungraspable future. But I knew that I needed to get out of the past because it didn't feel right. If something doesn't feel right, I think you can convince yourself it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, until it isn't.
Once you're strayed from the usual way, you just can't go back anymore. And the amoeba, they don't accept you either, so you tread water somewhere in between.
And it also represented having flipped between, this solid aspect of all the music teaching I'd been doing over the years, which was very much a stable job, as opposed to the touring singer-songwriter musician life where I didn't know where I was going to be one day to the next, and I'm sleeping on friends' floors and sofas, and just two very different lifestyles. My living has always been a mixture of both, flipping between the solid and the ever-changing. I think there were so many times we tried an idea and it worked, and I remember just that bit in the third verse where we cut out the acoustic bit and just let it hang before it kicks in again.
Sometimes I spy an object floating by from that living world into mine.
And it was just like, let's try that. And I remember us both going, oh my God! Like, I've got goosebumps just thinking about it.
How I felt as a child. Is it any wonder I plummet so far under, and I'm dragged in the tide to the floor? When I chose to stray from the usual way in my search for a little bit more. Oh, come tread the water with me.
There were some real moments of like, this is special.
It's far too much effort, you see.
Kind of talks about that feeling of having left the shore but not made it to where you were aiming for, and just kind of struggling in the middle. I'm at the recording booth here in Suffolk, recording Nickajack Cave with the awesome musicians I'm working with. Let's see what's going on inside.
everything we can never have. And what we've got sits wasted, ignored upon our laps. We never see the reason behind the circumstance. But I am just like you. I am just like you. You wait for the water and get not a single wave. 'Cause you were never meant to die in the decade.
That was Tristan's Hume. This is Andy Drill, but he's recording, so he can't say hello.
Nickerjack Cave.
Little, little, little ding.
Ding,
Little,
ding,
little, little ding.
ding.
That one for me was one that I had tried with a gazillion different musicians. I knew exactly how I wanted it to sound, and it was not working. That was my most frustrating song because I had dragged that around from year to year to year trying to get the sound that I wanted. And when we made that happen at the studio, I was just like, finally. But it was a case of finding the right musicians.
Hi, David Booth. Say hello.
That one, particularly that one, it came together for me when we sorted the groove out. And it's a very drummer thing to say, because that's playing the drums, of course, as well. But listening to it again recently, it's got a very specific pattern on there, the bass and the kick drum. And then once we nailed that down, then we got you thinking about the guitar to change the emphasis of it.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's when it started to feel like it was really coherent and grooving. It is when we sorted that out. And then after that, everything was more straightforward.
I think also Tristan's acoustic playing on Nickerjack Cave was great.
Very good guitar. Very good.
Just really, I love how Nashville that song is.
Nickerjack Cave. No, you were never meant to die in Nickerjack, Nickerjack, Nickerjack. You were never meant to die in Nickerjack Cave.
It's solid as a rock, that one.
The rhythmical aspect of it between you and me, I was like, yeah, really locked in.
Thank you. What were your favourite songs?
Protection, even though I'm probably not on it.
I was going to say, I don't actually think you played on. On Protection, I wanted a cello line, and Jonathan came over 2 hours later and it's just done. The frequencies of most of the song are really high because I'm playing mandolin, Tristan's playing a Nashville tune guitar, which is really high, and there's nothing else apart from vocals, so it needs something a little bit lower, which is why we thought cello. I don't know if the octave below would be too low, and then there's the section missing in the middle, but I think maybe try them both. And
I think what will happen is we'll get the higher one in, and then towards the end we'll bring in the second part lower.
okay.
Then we'll have two. Because it'll sound gorgeous.
I like that one too. I think that it's got its own little personality, that song.
Listening back to it today, that sounds amazing.
And I was recording the vocal take for Protection the other day, and I was visualising, I think we did 5 different takes, and in my mind I was visualising something different each time, and it did lead to 5 very, very different vocal takes. And the 5th take was very, very emotional, and my body just went into, I didn't tell you this, but I was really shaking while I was singing, and it's, I couldn't do that when I'm sitting there pressing record myself, and I needed to just be a singer and think about the song and present it as a conversation, as if it's actually happening, and so that's
My job is to turn you into an emotional wreck for each song.
I imagine stars when I see that song. It sounds starry, there's something twinkly about it, and I just think lying in a field, like watching the stars, hearing that would be like the optimum way to listen to Protection.
take the place of the very people who should have protected me every day. I learned to take the world on solo. I couldn't have had it any other way. Protection.
This is Dave plugging a stomp box in. There he is. This is Kilby folding his arms. Hello. And this is Andy doing all sorts of weird stuff on the guitar. And looking like he's going to kill me. And in a moment, they're going to do some beautiful backing vocals. All Out of Sympathy.
Yeah.
That was another song where I think we tried so many things, and every now and then it's like, oh my God, that works. Like, I remember coming up with the backing vocal, that kind of, I'm all out, I'm all out, I'm all out of sympathy. And then I think Andy tried that on electric, and that became the intro of the song.
Gave you an inch and still you took a mile.
Not that we ever had any major disagreements, but I remember a period of like me and Dave Dave was wanting to take it in this big pop direction. I was like, no, I want it to be dirty and grimy, and we kind of, it just kept, we were sort of shifting in between like, no, this, no, that. And eventually we just kind of negotiated somewhere in the middle, and it was a hard one, All Out of Sympathy. I couldn't quite envisage what it should sound like, I suppose.
That was probably the first time with somebody who was, obviously we became friends, but you were at the time like we didn't know each other that well, and you were paying for my services, and that was the first time I took somebody else's song and took it upon myself when everybody had gone to think, what on earth are we going to do with this? And I was listening to, like, you'd play the rhythm guitar part on it originally. I was like, that's not grooving with the drums. And I was thinking, how are we going to make that work? And I just, as an experiment, I replaced all the acoustic guitars. And then I thought, that's how I imagine it. I sent it to you, and thankfully, you liked it. But before that, it was struggling. It was because I could really hear that it should be a big pop song, with a bit of grit as well. But it wasn't. It just wasn't grooving. And thankfully, the risk paid off.
I don't know what you did with the bass, but it is so tight. Really, 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 really happy with it.
We spent a lot of time getting the groove right, I think. Yeah, it really worked.
I remember you getting really excited about that song. I remember coming back to the studio the next day and you were like, I've done this, I've done all of this. And again, there was a sort of like that kind of electricity of excitement when you hear it and you're like, oh my God, that's like changed personality now. It's...
I have washed my hands so clean.
Probably have an overriding memory. I was always terrified of playing the guitar part on that one because I often write beyond my own capability, and I was playing, and again I could hear it in my head, and I'm like, I'm not a good enough guitarist to play this. And I think it's probably you guys that were like, just keep practicing, keep doing it. But oh God, every time we played it live I used to crap myself, and I nailed it at one of the gigs and I totally ruined it at another, so I'm still, the jury's out on that one. But anyway, I remember thinking, we either make this because it was very heartfelt and intimate and vulnerable, and I thought we either keep this really intimate and just acoustic
but then the chorus is so massive, it's like, oh. And then we talked about, oh my God, what about a massive choir? I don't know I think because I'd written the backing vocals for it, but I think we maybe said that it would sound better if there were loads of voices, and I was like, well, I happen to know multiple choirs. I'm sure they would be up for doing that. I think when we made the decision to go big or go home, that song got really exciting.
Yeah.
Something's in me.
That was the first time I'd recorded a choir to put onto a pop song.
I remember you being nervous coming to us to record.
Yeah. And I know what I'm doing in a small room in a studio, but it was so exciting that. I remember getting the recordings, and I knew technically had to capture it okay, and the room was nice, so that made it easier. And just put a spread of mics out to make sure you knew what you were doing with putting people in certain places as well, so we didn't get any one voice dominating. And then it was just a case of getting the sound to them enough so they could hear it, but not too much, so it went on the mics too much. And I just remember when I first put it up in the studio on the computer and combined it with the recording that we had, it was just like, oh my God, I want to do this on everything now. Every song ever has got to have a choir.
Hello. You were part of the I Nearly Told You crew.
The thing I remember about the session itself was after we'd finished recording that, and I think it was Dave, they were packing all the equipment up. The guy who was packing up says, "You lot are bloody awesome," which I thought was really nice.
I just remember being quite emotional about it, really. I don't know, just the words. And I think Kathy and myself, we came to, you was in Lincoln.
The Knights Theatre.
That's
it
right,
was.
yeah.
That's where I went.
Was that the gig that Liz and Lauren were doing backing singing for you? I remember being really jealous. I wanted to be up there.
I think the choir behind was absolutely fantastic. It just added so much to the song.
It sounded great, really, really good. So thank you.
It was a super song. It really was. I fell in love with it.
One, two, three, go.
I will return the land of Oz. Remind myself.
I think sad, because you'll go down rather than thinking happy and then go no. Because that's what's happening every time. It's a happy note.
See what I have to deal with.
He led his ears to me, never felt so understood. He gave me money when I'm in need, but it's not fire. It could not be.
We were like, no, we can sing, but it has to be someone sexier. So I think that's what we said.
Why the f*** did you ask me?
Well, back those days when you were a bit younger, Paul, you know.
If it takes away the pain, then give me one last chance to say it again.
Apart from that, the main issues have been hiding the biscuits from Abby.
Shut up! You are the one that brought all the biscuits out. I have been very well behaved. This is David's biscuit tin.
Yeah, that was full on Thursday.
That is such a lie. That is such a lie. I did not eat all the biscuits.
I think apart from that, it's mainly, I suppose.
I'm a happy bunny.
Good.
I might walk away and he'll go, oh, thank God, she's gone. She's gone, I'm free.
Where's the wine? It's going to be good.
Cool.